Well, something that I think we can all agree on is that the world is just getting faster and faster and busier and busier. And with it, the need for effective time management and prioritization continues to become more and more relevant for us being able to maximize our productivity and also enhance our resourcefulness. So I want to take you through some of the neuroscience behind these skills so that you can overcome some of those challenges as they come up in your day-to-day life, improve your efficiency, and also just to help you achieve your daily and your big goals a lot easier as well. So let's take a look at some of the key concepts, and then I'm going to go through some different strategies that you can use to optimize your time management and prioritization as well. So first of all, let's talk about the neuroscience. When we talk about prioritization and when we talk about time management, it's got a lot to do with your prefrontal cortex. It's got a lot to do with your executive functions. And the reason is that your prefrontal cortex is responsible for things like your goal setting and your decision making and your self-control. And this has happened over a long evolution, and it's what makes us so smart and so capable of problem solving as well. It's really what sets us apart from a lot of the other animals. And so when we start to understand how our executive functions work, well, now we can start to harness the potential of that executive functioning for effective time management. We can start to put things into place. And one of the things that we talk about is the impact of distractions on cognitive performance and on executive functions as well. And distractions happen for a number of reasons. You know, these are things like notifications popping up, or we're multitasking, or things just come into our peripheral that takes our attention off what we're doing. And this might seem like little things, but this can really significantly impair our cognitive performance. And shifting attention between tasks, even if we think we're good at it, every time we do that, we're draining some of our cognitive resources and we're reducing some of our efficiency. So we need to be able to recognize and minimize distractions so that we've got effective time management and optimal resourcefulness. And that can be harder or easier depending on what's going on in our lives as well. You know, like we know that things like stress and things like external stimuli can actually short circuit a lot of our executive functioning. And when that happens, it reverts back to lesser evolved structures in our brain, which, like our amygdala or our hypothalamus, which really just gets us into that fight or flight mode. We don't really think smart anymore. We just start reacting. And so that's what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to stay in control so that we can avoid these distractions, we can overcome things, and we can start to get a little bit more resourceful, a little bit more efficient, a little bit more consistent in what we do. So the first step here is, well, let's think about what are the distractions that commonly are interrupting your workflow. So to dive into this, ask yourself, what are the most common distractions that I encounter throughout the day? How do these distractions impact my focus and my productivity? And are there any patterns or triggers that lead to these distractions as well? When we start to think about that, we can start to place things around it to make sure that they don't get in the way. For example, I know that if my kids are coming into the office, I'm probably not going to be able to record video content. You know, I've got kids, they're under 10, and they're noisy. They're noisy, and they should be noisy. They're kids. So I'm not going to plan to be recording stuff when they're around. That doesn't really make a lot of sense, right? It's a very basic, very simple, easy to understand explanation. But that's it. What is it? Is it that coworker that pops up? Is it that thing that the email's dinging on your phone? What are the distractions? What are the patterns? What are the triggers that lead you down this path of distraction? Once we start to recognize that, we can start to make some plans to overcome these challenges. And when we talk about overcoming challenges, the first thing that I want you to be aware of is the planning fallacy. And the planning fallacy is a cognitive bias that we've pretty much all got, and it makes us underestimate the time that's required to actually complete tasks. We always think it's going to take us less than what it actually takes us because we don't take into account a lot of other things that are happening. And so in able to combat this bias, first of all, we need to break down our tasks into smaller, manageable chunks. And that allows us to allocate realistic time estimates. And a good full rule of thumb is anywhere from 1.5 to 3 times longer than what you expect is how long it's going to take you. And this approach of being aware of it and starting to chunk down our tasks and batch our tasks as well This is going to help us to avoid overcommitment, and it's going to allow us to better allocate our resources so that we can be more efficient. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is, and this is really great for overcoming challenges, is prioritization and the Eisenhower matrix as well. So I'm going to show you this Eisenhower matrix now, and it's a really, really simple but a really great tool to be able to distinguish between what's urgent and what's important, and what do we need to do right now, what can wait, and it really just lets us categorize things into four quadrants. They're urgent, they're either urgent or not urgent. They're either important or not important. And this is what we end up with here. So this is your Eisenhower matrix, and what we can see is, you can see here, we've got these four quadrants. We've got urgent here, we've got non-urgent, and we've got important, and we've got not important here. So if it's urgent and important, so if it's falling into here, these are things that we want to do pretty much right now. If it's falling into this category here where it's not urgent but it's still important, we want to schedule those tasks as well. If it's not important and it's urgent, let's delegate those out. Let's delegate those out so that they get done, but they don't need any real specific skill set. And the last one is, it's not urgent and it's not important. So you know what we're going to do there? We're going to go ahead and we're going to delete all of those, right? These are distractions and these are unnecessary tasks. So if it's urgent and important, these are tasks with deadlines or consequences. If it's not urgent but it's still important, these are tasks with unclear deadlines, but they still contribute to our long-term success. And if they're not important but they're urgent, we want to delegate these out because they've got to be done, but they don't really require any specific skill set. So we can get anybody to do them really. And then we've talked about not urgent, not important, delete them. They're just distractions. So what could these look like in the real world? Well, let me just show you here. So when we talk about urgent and important, this could be anything like a baby crying, a kitchen fire, or also some calls, some sales calls and some presentations that we need to make, all those meetings with staff that we need to have. Not urgent and important over here. So these are things like exercise or our vocations or our planning. These are things that have to happen, but there's no real deadline to them. So we're going to schedule those as well. And the things that are not important or urgent, these are, yes, different interruptions, different distractions. These are other calls that we need to make as well. And you notice that I've got distractions in there, and I just had distractions on the other one. Think about your distractions. Some distractions are recharge and regenerate, right? So some distractions are okay if they're in the form of a break. So it's about taking those distractions and using them as something that's going to actually charge us up. And then the last thing, not important, not urgent, trivia, busy work, gossip, time wasters, all of those things that we always get sucked into. I know I definitely do, and that don't really add any value to us, so we can just go ahead and delete those. So that's the Eisenhower matrix. Really simple, really great way to just prioritize things. Is it urgent? Is it not urgent? Is it important? Is it not important? That's really all you need to think about. Really great, really simple there as well. So, take a moment to categorize what have you got on your plate. What are your current tasks? Put them into one of those four quadrants of that Eisenhower matrix and ask yourself, well, what tasks are really urgent and important? These are the ones that require immediate attention. Ask yourself, are there any activities that are important but not urgent, which might need some more proactive planning? And also make sure that you can actually identify tasks that are neither urgent or important, and that we can either delegate them or eliminate them. Don't try and do everything yourself. And also, don't try and do everything. The amount of things that I put on the bottom of my list, I'm a list guy, for first of all. The things that I just keep bumping down to the end of my list, and I'm sure that you've probably done this as well, some of them eventually drop off. So just drop them off, delete them straight away, get it out of your head, free up that cognitive space. Because we've got other things to worry about. We've got other things to worry about, like overcoming procrastination and overcoming obstacles. And procrastination is the biggest killer of effective time management and resourcefulness. So this is where, again, what are we really trying to do with procrastination? We're trying to activate our brain's reward system. If you're sitting there and you're procrastinating, your brain is saying, this ain't worth it. No, not today. Not today. This is not worth my effort today. The reward is not worth it. Not interested, thanks. I'm just going to sit here and do anything else that I possibly can to avoid this thing. That's effectively procrastination. Now, there's different reasons that happens, and that's an oversimplification, obviously. But it really comes down to this idea of we just need to get started. And when we get started, this is when we initiate that task, we activate your brain's reward system. And now we're making it easier to maintain that momentum and to overcome procrastination. And we do that by breaking tasks into these smaller, manageable steps. And we just get started. That's the most important part, getting started. Now, the next thing is time blocking and time boxing. These are great for overcoming obstacles. And it's basically a technique that helps you to manage your time by allocating specific blocks of time for different tasks or activities. And this gives you a structured framework for your day or your week. And again, I know this sounds simple, but most people don't do it. And so when we talk about time boxing, we've figured out what that task is we've broken it down into those chunks. We've planned it as well. We've allowed 1.5 to 3 times as long as what we think it's going to take. And now we've got it in our calendar. Boom, it's right there. It's blocked. It's there. Why are time blocks great? Time blocks are great because if they have to move or if something eats into that time, we can pick them up and we can move them to somewhere else in our calendar. We don't try and squeeze things in. We just pick it up and move it to a free block as well. So first of all, define your tasks. What is it that you need to accomplish? Break them down into manageable tasks. Determine those time blocks. Use that matrix to prioritize and schedule based on their importance and their urgency. Stick to the schedule. Once you've assigned a time block, commit to it. If it needs to change, move it into a new space. Eliminate your distractions, take breaks, and then evaluate and adjust as well. And when we do that, you're going to have better focus, you're going to have better productivity, you're going to have better task management, you're going to have less procrastination, and you're also going to have a lot more awareness of the time. And that's really important because when we're aware of it, this is where we can play catch up and where we can adjust. And being resourceful and being efficient is all about being able to adjust to the current pressures and to what's actually going on as well. So this approach helps to guard against multitasking because we don't actually want to multitask. We want to task batch and we want to chunk our tasks, but we don't want to multitask. And when we avoid that, this is where we're promoting deep work, and this leads to more improved resourcefulness. So ask yourself, how can you allocate dedicated blocks of time for focused work? What activities can you group together? You can really just batch them all together for optimal efficiency. And these want to be the tasks where you're not flip-flopping between different things, where you're not having to focus on writing something creative and then doing something very analytical. We want to get ourselves working in that same brain state if possible. And lastly, make sure you're setting some specific goals or some specific milestones within each time block so that you can actually measure progress as well. And when we incorporate these strategies into our time management and into our prioritization practices, now we're starting to optimize our resourcefulness. Now we're starting to overcome obstacles to productivity and to efficiency and to connectivity. So reflect on it, reflect on the insights, reflect on the exercises, and have a look at that Eisenhower matrix as well. Think about how you can use it. A lot of this is just about planning, and realistic planning as well. Remember, we've got the planning fallacy in play. We're going to underestimate things, so overestimate. And the best thing about overestimating is the worst thing that can possibly happen is you just end up with a little bit more free time. That's it. That's all for today. Enjoy. Talk to you real soon. Bye now.